Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Truth, lies, shenanigans. 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 Tune in to TLS. Yeah, tune in to TLS. It's the TLS show. Coming to you live from the TLS show.
Hey, welcome to the Truth, Lies, Shenanigans podcast. Social commentary, hot topics, amazing guests with a ton of fun and shenanigans along the way. Today's show, Republicans and pollsters across the country predicted a red wave on election day that never materialized. We're going to talk with guest host Mayor Patrick Willian about what happened and what it means for the country going forward. Then everybody's favorite movie critic, Micah Payne, rejoins the show from Movie Time with Micah, and we're talking Wakanda Forever. Before we get into the show, I've always got to introduce you to my co-hosts, and I'm blessed with 4 co-hosts today. First up, our nature lover, gamer, rock star, coming to you from Ontario, Canada, Mr. Rob B. Rock, and he's also our birthday boy, hitting the big 350. Happy birthday, Robbie Rock, big 5.
Thank you, my friends. Yeah. Oh, it's been a great day. I started off my morning by doing some physio exercises while playing video games, the art of multitasking, and shortly thereafter, I was greeted by my wife, who came up quietly behind me and said, "Good morning, Rob." So, at that point,
That's quietly, huh?
I jumped and I exclaimed my surprise, perhaps using an expletive or two, and then I explained to her that my exercises were done because my heart rate was high enough. Later in the morning, practicing on my drum kit, and I think I hear something, so I look around the room, and I'm startled by someone leaning down into my window, peering at me. I'm like, what is going on? And it was my mom, who was dropping off some leftover birthday cake from our celebration on Friday.
How was the
So,
celebration on
yes.
Friday? How was that?
It was great. We got together with just a close circle. We've got Joe, my mom, the kids, and my granddaughter greeted me with birthday cards and said, "Happy birthday, Grandpapa." I wrote your card all by myself. Mom helped a little.
That's awesome. Well, happy birthday, Rob Beamer. Happy to celebrate
birthday.
with you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
All right, next up, our lovely professor, journalist, editor, streaming live from Washington, D.C., Miss Liz E. Enders.
What's up, everyone? Happy Sunday, fun day. It's been a long week, but a very productive week, so I am thankful for that. I had quite a few job interviews this week, so we'll see what happens. A sister got to get employed permanently at some point. All this freelancing, going back to New York every other week is not the business. But I'm happy to be here.
Sounds rough.
Yeah, but I'm happy to be here. Lovely opportunity to talk about the victories, big victories, small victories of midterm Tuesday, but also, get a little Wakanda going. So I'm excited about this show.
Yeah, this should be a fun show, definitely. All right, and host of numerous podcasts, including the Black on Black Cinema podcast, Nerdpocalypse, and host of one of our favorite segments, Movie Time with Micah, streaming from somewhere near Washington, D.C. It's Micah Payne.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. I missed you all. Happy birthday to Rob. I can't believe you're 50 years old. I think you look great, and I think you can. You know the term "black don't crack." I think we need to come up with another one. White don't blight, because you look real good.
Okay, that's new. White don't blight. I don't know if that's going to catch on, but
I don't know, but look, you heard it here first. If it does catch on, thank the TLS show for it.
I thought you were gonna say Rob don't crack, but white don't.
Blight.
Blight.
He said blight.
Blight.
White don't
I like it.
Rob. All right, Rob. All right, Rob. There you go. There you go.
All right. That's awesome. All right. And everyone's favorite mayor, the mayor of College Park, Maryland, and our politics guru, Mayor Patrick Willian, who we lovingly refer to as simply Mayor Patrick. Welcome back, Mayor Patrick.
Mayor.
Good.
Woo-hoo!
Good to be here. Good to be here. It's been a while. First of all, happy birthday to Rob, and I hope that white don't blight thing applies to me as well. I mean, I'm 50. 50 is not too far away from me, so I hope I can look that youthful and vibrant when I turn 50 too. So we have a lot of great things going on in College Park. It's been a while since I've seen you all, and College Park is a place to be now in the DMV. We just opened up a Trader Joe's. The first in Prince George's County, and we have a ton of stuff going on all over College Park right now. New events, our new City Hall.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love being mayor of this great city. Love our community here.
Yeah, and great mayor you are. So we definitely appreciate having you in College Park for sure. All right, and of course, I'm your host, Neil Nix. I'm wearing my Wakanda gear today. I'm hyped to talk about that movie, but I just want to say, actually, I am really happy to see Mayor Patrick because we've been trying to get him back for a while, but the time change for recording our podcast has been kind of rough for his schedule. And for those that don't know, he's actually my neighbor. He's like literally like 1 block away, and he stays in really great shape running. Right? So
Yeah.
I gotta say,
Oh.
man, I'm a little worried about you because sometimes I'll see him running by, right? And he's wearing this light up vest, and I'll be like, "What's up, Mayor Patrick? How you doing?" And almost every time he just keeps on running past, and he doesn't even look my way, my direction. And,
I probably got my earbuds in.
I mean, but he's not even. It's not even like he's far away. I mean, he like literally goes right in front of me, like feet away.
Mayor, man. He's on the road.
I'm like, okay,
And-
Patrick.
And I gotta say, Neil lives right on the top of a hill,
Right, I was
and then
gonna
I
say.
struggle up that. I struggle up that hill, and when I get up to the top of that hill, I'm like, I am home free because then it's all downhill all the way back to my place. And at that point, I'm just like,
Yeah, he's just focused,
So-
laser focused. That's what I figured. I figured because
I go playing down that hill.
it's usually dark outside for one, and he's wearing the headphones, and then like I say, and then he's usually running back. I can tell he's on his way back, not going out. So he's probably just like, I gotta just get down there. So
yeah. This is the point where I'm like literally counting the number of houses that I have left before I get back to my place. So I'm like, I'm
But
I'm in it-
I gotta
in it
say,
to win
I
it.
mean, after Pelosi's husband, some crazies out there. So you're an amazing mayor. So we gotta keep you around for a few terms because I mean, I could have just knocked him upside the head, and you would have been like, what?
So if something happens, you know who to look at first.
Right?
We gotta
I better not do anything to upset him, or next time I'm out running, I'm gonna feel like he's gonna be hit upside the head with something. He's gonna throw something at me.
We got to keep
As
you
I'm running
safe.
by.
We got to keep you safe.
All
right.
First person of
You're a
interest,
funny dude,
okay.
man. You're a funny dude. And you're like, hey, here's the man. Here's a political figure. I know exactly where you live at. I can knock you upside the head.
Oh, no,
Right.
I love Mayor Patrick. He's the best.
Right.
Oh,
He doesn't know where to find me. He can knock on my door anytime he wants. So.
Mel's online. She said, "Hey, Patrick, how's it going?"
Hey, Mel.
All right, let's go ahead and get into our topics.
Truth, lies, shenanigans.
All right, so this past week was Election Day in the U.S., and Republicans swore up and down they were going to take the House and Senate by a landslide, what they call a red wave. And guess what? Never happened. Matter of fact, the numbers from Politico last night confirmed that the Dems have won the Senate. And actually, the House of Representatives still undecided, but leaning towards Republican, having a slight majority. So, of course, given Repubs were expecting to have a significantly look at Wakanda Forever from Lizzie. Given that the Republicans were expecting a significantly better performance, they started blaming who else but Trump. So, Mayor Patrick, I'll start with you. Is this better than better than expected turnout? Sort of a referendum on Trump? Is it a referendum on Supreme Courts and reproductive rights? Or, as Biden put it, is the fight for democracy as a whole? So, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah. So, great question. And first, I think it's important to put everything in some context because you look at these midterm elections. These term elections are always losers for the party in power, and it
Historically,
just
yep.
typically the party who's in the White House will lose about 40 or 50 seats. So this time, in the Senate, we may be poised to gain a seat depending on what happens in the Georgia runoff in December in the Senate, and then in the House, we may be the Republicans are probably going to gain a few seats, enough to get a majority. They're only currently behind by about 4 seats in the House, so it's not hard for them to get a majority at this
Right,
point.
it was a
It's
small
probably going to be a
majority
slim
anyway.
majority, right?
Yeah.
Slim majority at the best. So yeah, but to answer your question, I think there's a lot of things that had to do with it. I think certainly the Dobbs decision in the Supreme Court was a big factor because it really kind of showed what the Republicans stand for, and that one of the things that they stand for is taking away the rights of women, and to just highlight that so close to the election. And the Democrats gave the Democrats an opportunity to go out and talk about that the rights of women are not safe with the Republicans leading our country, and really to focus on that. So it gave the Democrats a strong talking point. Certainly Trump being out there, and not just Trump being out there, but all the candidates that Trump is supporting was supporting in this election.
They
People
were
like
loud and
Mehmet
proud.
Oz, who, yeah, I know we're going to talk a little bit more about Mehmet Oz, but there were just these candidates out there that supported basically, the big lie, supported the idea that Joe Biden lost the 2020
Election
election
deniers, yep.
when there's absolutely no evidence for that. People see that, and people don't like extremism on either side. But when you have a somebody saying that basically the last election, the legitimately elected president who's in the White House is not supposed to be there, that our democratic process doesn't work in that way, that really does show a level of extremism that we've really never seen in this country before, at least not in many years. So it people reacted to that, and that was what we saw last week.
So you're saying it's leaning more towards saving democracy.
Yeah, and I mean, just Trump being out there and Trump highlighting the fact that and the candidates representing Trump were just highlighting the fact that he was a threat to democracy.
Yeah, and then those MAGA, Biden keeps referring to these MAGA extremists. So yeah, just kind of getting away from those MAGA extremists. What do you think, Liz?
Kanye is included in the MAGA gotta
Your
pick him up.
your boy Kanye.
Yeah.
Your boy Kanye. No, I mean, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly, with Patrick on several points that he made. One, Patrick, is a mayor in College Park, Maryland, as we all know, and the governor of Maryland is Larry Hogan, who's Republican, and he has called out repeatedly Donald Trump for the Republicans not doing what they need to do to overwhelmingly take over the Senate, to have this race as close as it is in the House. And so that's one, Republican who's like, hey, I'm going to start holding people accountable. But it's also been amazing to see, like, the Republican Party, as it is wont to do, implode again. Because even though you have Larry Hogan calling out Trump is now turning on everybody who didn't follow him,
Of
who
course,
didn't vote for him. He's even turning on DeSantis in
well, I
Florida.
mean that was expected, right?
He's definitely turned on Mitch McConnell, who, once again, I appreciate the fact that he is still the Senate minority leader. All right. So, he's turning on, Mitch McConnell, saying he's responsible for this, he's responsible for that. So they're now sitting back, they're taking notes. they're reassessing what's going on and they're blaming each other. The infighting has been great to see. But I also think it's a true testament to what we've been saying all along, what we talked about in last week's episode, in that voting is important, not just for the general election, but every time an election comes up, voting is important, whether it be, at the federal level where you're voting for president, or you're voting for a member of Congress or the Senate, or if you're voting for your community. I mean, even in the state of Maryland, there was some pretty key turnarounds as it related to the first Black Attorney General for the state of Maryland, the first female comptroller for the state of, like, these are things
The
that
first Black governor.
matter.
First Black governor, yeah.
And it's one of those things where you have to get in the habit of voting. Don't just think about, okay, I got to vote for president every 4 years. You have to vote for your interests. And one more thing that Patrick talked about as it relates to Georgia. And, so now Georgia, has this runoff, right, coming up.
Yep.
But the interesting thing about Georgia is it really exposed a lot of women voters, particularly a lot of white female feminist voters. Because remember, it wasn't too long ago that everyone was up in arms, particularly women, up in arms about Roe v. Wade being overturned by the Supreme Court, women's rights or whatever. But then with this election on Tuesday, or liberal women, white feminists or whatever, for the most part, especially in a key state like Georgia, overwhelmingly voted for the conservative white Republican, especially when it comes to governor for that state, right? Kemp versus Stacey Abrams. And so you have a lot of hypocrisy going on, a lot of loud talking, as they say in the South, but not a lot of action. And
But do you think they showed out more for Kemp or for the Senate candidates? Brian
think
Kemp
they
being the
showed-
one who went up against, sorry for our listeners, the one who went up against Stacey Abrams for governor.
I think.
Georgia.
Well, I think it's separate issues. I think it's separate votes. I think they didn't want to show out for a Black woman being in control of the state of Georgia, and I think there's still this idea that even though they may say bad things sometimes, this is still where we're going to follow because my husband or my daddy or my brother might be a white male conservative. So there's a lot of underlying issues there with the feminists in this country and how they don't come through on a lot of the noise that they make when they don't get their way.
Yeah. Let's go to Micah.
Look, this is what happens when actions meet consequences, right? The Republican Party played a wild hand with Donald Trump, and for a while it was really working. But then they realized, hey, the call's coming from inside the house, and and you can't, like, he was such a chaotic presence that the Republicans, the ones who are really in charge, are not dumb. They're not dumb
that are
at
really
all.
in charge.
Mitch McConnell is not a dumb person,
Okay.
right? But those of his ilk, right?
I mean,
I'm not
Lizzie
talking
will
about
say something
Boebert.
different. I don't know. I might.
I'm talking about like people like Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and like the wackos, right? The wackos.
Wacko.
Boebert, who could still potentially lose in Colorado.
Yeah.
Who could still potentially lose in Colorado.
And I think the infusion of Trump brought out the worst of the Republican Party, because he made it okay to not be ashamed to be, a bigot. And for a while, like, the country was kind of like in a Cold War where it's like, yeah, we know bigots exist, but you just keep your bigotry over there and we're just going to do our thing. But because of that explosion,
Cold War
and
bigotry.
right, like it, and we felt it. We really did.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the straw that finally broke the camel's back to get younger people out to vote. You can't just say women, you can't have an abortion anymore. Like you can't do you can't have bodily autonomy. Like that's crazy. That's crazy. You can't you can't and it's a slippery slope, man. Once you start taking rights away, once you start saying, "Oh, well, states' rights." Well, what else happened because of states' rights? The Civil War, because certain states wanted the right to own slaves,
Own slaves, absolutely.
and
Preach,
you
brother,
can't.
preach.
I'm just saying, you can't. People aren't going to take that. People are not going to take that, especially because this younger pool of voters is leaning more center left to liberal. They're the largest voting bloc, and you can't you can't. I know some Republican people, and I tell them, if you notice I didn't say I'm friends with certain Republicans. I know some Republican people, and I tell them, I say, look, your party. I know plenty of people who have center right to conservative views, but your party comes off as so bigoted and racist. You're never going to get those people.
And misogynist.
And the problem is the
absolutely.
entire party.
Right.
It's not like just individuals. It feels like
Right.
it feels like it's an attack from the entire party. And they're just because
Exactly.
the ones that say are moderate, right? Then they should be speaking out.
They
About
really should.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to consider them, otherwise, I have to assume that the entire party is bigoted. I mean, I have
Right.
to assume that because they're not
Bigoted,
speaking out about it.
homophobic, misogynist, racist, like all of it. All of it.
All of the isms.
That's how-
All of the isms.
That's how they present themselves. That's how they present themselves. And if we want to still be under the guise of, the United States is a melting pot, well, we're not really melting.
Mm-mm.
We're going back
Yeah.
to our corners. And so that's,
And I think
the Republicans will never own up to that.
This whole idea I think in the 2018 and 2020 elections that Hispanic voters are going to be going more towards Republicans, that seems to have been repudiated in this 2022 election. And so a lot of the districts that they thought were going to be swayed by that, and it was never really that there was never a majority, and people were never saying there was going to be a majority of Hispanic voters. It's just a slight sway of some of the Hispanic voters to Republicans. And of course, Hispanics are not monolithic, and nobody should say that they're all think the same or anything. But it seems that trend is reversing.
Awesome. So, Robbie, you had some thoughts.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's great to go around the horn and hear what people are saying because, like when Fox News all week or for the last couple of weeks, the narrative has been this red wave is coming, this red tsunami is coming, it's the red splash at best, not even. What I really enjoyed seeing north of the border was
I'd say pink splash.
Pink.
Yeah, like when your MAGA hat and your white robes get thrown in the wash together, you get a pink splash.
Your white robes and MAGA
Great
hats.
analogy.
There you go. I like it.
What I enjoyed seeing north of the border, though, was several states that moved to enshrine abortion protection in their constitutions, because this was just a ghastly attack on body autonomy. And north of the border, that was just terrifying to see. So I'm glad to see that was kind of stayed off and that people are bucking up against it. But Liz and Micah were saying, just as far as young voters coming out, I know that they turned out in record numbers. This was the second highest turnout of young voters in 30 years. So that's pretty impressive. It's they're hearing the message and they know that they need to organize. So that speaks well for the future of your democracy. And to see that the election deniers are not going to be in charge and leading the way for the next election, that makes me happy too. So I have some hope for your democratic process. I absolutely have some hope for your democratic process. And unfortunately, because of American culture and media that trickles north of the border very quickly with the internet and media as quickly as it moves, hopefully it'll usher in some common sense with some of the people who have drunk the Kool-Aid on this side of the fence. Yeah.
Nice. So I wanted to bring up John Fetterman and Mehmet Oz because we were talking about it. So we, Mehmet Oz got the endorsement from Donald Trump, and then his friend, the woman that made Dr. Oz's career, Oprah Winfrey, not only didn't endorse him but came out in support of his rival John Fetterman. So does this mean Oprah has more political power than Trump at this point, Lizzie?
I don't think so. I mean, Oprah is Oprah. I think people take her a lot with a grain of salt. And, Oprah has had her own scandals over the past few years. So she doesn't have the same fans that she did like 5, 10 years ago. My whole big thing was, I think Dr. Oz, like many of the Republicans who initially we thought were going to be a part of the red wave, told on himself, repeatedly kept telling on himself, and he kind of, ran a dirty campaign. The thing, and I'm not, from the state of Pennsylvania, I'm a Washingtonian, born and raised, but as it relates to Dr. Oz, I just kept looking at people or talking to people and saying, first and foremost, this is a man who got on TV and steadfastly told the world, the public, that he does not wash his chicken before he cooks it. So he can't be trusted. He can't be trusted. From that alone, he cannot be trusted, in my opinion. But he has all of these. I mean, he was at some point, he was a COVID denier, didn't really, wasn't advocating for vaccines. Like, he wasn't working in the best interest of the people. And I think folks started to realize that and see that and think about what Donald Trump was. Dr. Oz, like Trump, a TV personality. That's not what we need in politics. That's not what we need.
Yeah. Somebody was telling me I want to vote for I want actually somebody who used to be a host on this show was telling me that they were hoping that The Rock runs for president.
No.
For what?
No.
For what?
No.
I'm just curious how y'all feel about it.
He can run a marathon, but he doesn't need to run.
No, he can't. No, he can't. He's way too big to run a marathon.
What do
Get
you
out
think,
of here.
Patrick? I mean, well, let me ask you this, Patrick. I
No.
do want to ask you this about the future of the Republican Party. So, we have 2 years. Okay, so we have the Senate. We might lose a slim majority in the House, but in 2 years we're looking at president again. And do you want Biden to run again? Do you feel that it would be a good thing for him to run again, or is there someone else in mind that you think would do well? Say, for example, like The Rock.
I don't know anything about The Rock's political views, to be honest, or his leadership skills. Yeah, I will say, so I think that I mean Biden has gotten a good record so far. I think he's done a good job. He's gotten a lot of accomplishments. There are some challenges that he has, certainly, which all the economic stuff, the inflation, that's something that anybody would be dealing with, and nobody
Right now,
really
yep,
has anything.
absolutely. It was a bubble ready to bust. So it just, I mean, particularly after the pandemic, it's not surprising.
No, but Biden will be 81 years old.
That's my concern. So that's why
when
I'm
the
asking.
next election comes.
Yeah.
A lot of
And it's showing in his. I think it's showing in his.
in his cognitive skills and his speech.
I
all
think
of
it's
that.
clear.
That's not his fault.
It's not his
That's
fault. It's just showing.
We age. That's what happens to humans. But I think it's something that we need to pay attention to with a lot of people that we have in office, whether it be the president, whether it be our congressmen, senators, whatever. A lot of them are older, in the 80s. We have to start getting some new voices into our government. These are antiquated people with antiquated ideas who cannot relate to how the country is progressing.
Come on, Patrick.
I mean, I don't want.
No,
Buttigieg did it. You could do it, Patrick. Let's go.
I don't want that job.
But go ahead, you had
I still remember the Onion headline when Obama became president. There was an Onion headline that said, "Nation gives country's worst job to a black man."
That's what we do in America. That's what we do in America. Give it to the black man. Give it to the black man.
But I mean, I hear that, and I do think that we need to be developing and fostering new leadership, younger leadership,
We do,
and
absolutely.
fostering that for the next. But I think in this case, I think Biden, people know him, and people I think people like him as a person, and I think I'm mostly concerned about the alternatives in 2020.
That's the problem. Like, who are we looking at?
But that's why we
right.
we have 2 years. That's why we need to get started now. That's why we need to get started now. I mean, again, he's going to be 81 years old. Poor Joe Biden. Hunter Biden is dragging him through the ringer. You don't know where his emotional state is going to be in 2 years with that wayward son of his. Like, it's time to, pass the torch on to someone who's younger and more progressive and who can, attract Gen Z to be a part of the democratic process and voting.
Yeah.
So who is it?
I hear that, but I also think that Biden. I think that we need to be thinking about that for the next time. But I do
And
think
it's
that
hard to get
Biden
rid of an incumbent.
has another 4 years. Yeah.
There's a value to an incumbent. So
Right. The biggest thing is going to be to beat Donald Trump or
DeSantis,
or whoever else they come up with.
I saw, and as it relates to Donald Trump, I saw something this week. I think it was on CNN or Washington Post that his children don't want him to run in 2024, and they said that they will not be a part, of another Donald Trump campaign and or White House. So that's very interesting.
I think
Yeah,
the
'cause
midterms have eliminated him.
you can't do your dirty work in politics, right? Like, you got to be a skilled hand to do dirty work in politics. And that family, like, they make their money like under the table, shady deals and stuff like that. Politics,
And they
like,
were
shines a light on all that stuff.
Yeah,
Right,
they were exposed.
Yeah.
Which is
And they
what
should
happened.
stick. They should make their money, do whatever. I mean, they're shady dealings, all this stuff that family has done in business. That they should just stick to that and let other people run the country.
Yeah, that's why they're being
Stop
It's
invested.
about time.
You
It's
need
about
to
time the
stop
kids are waking
electing
up to that
TV
fact.
stars.
What'd
Stick
you
with
say?
your movie stars. Stick with your movie stars in politics. Stop electing TV stars.
Like The Rock.
Like The Rock.
Like The Rock.
I will not be
who
voting
I
for
would
The
vote
Rock
for
if I
is
can
Mark
help
Cuban. I like Mark Cuban if he were to run. I know he was thinking about it in the last one. I would vote for him. I like Mark Cuban.
I think Rob and Neo are just advocating for the bald agenda here. That's what all this Rock stuff is.
No to Mark Cuban as well. Come on, we need people who
We do
one,
need some.
aren't
We
necessarily
need good people.
billionaires, but also who have been a part of, community service, who've been a part of politics and know how to speak to the people and its need. And, Mark Cuban has had his own scandals with being, the owner and the president of the Dallas Mavericks. So,
Yep.
no Mark
All right,
Cuban.
we got some comments online. Robin Johnson, Dr. J says, Dems have to stop voting emotionally. Republicans vote the ticket because they support party ideals. It clearly doesn't matter who runs. And then Tracy Gore says, we have enough cartoon characters in office already.
Exactly.
All right. So that was a great discussion. Great discussion, guys. But yeah, I think that it's good to see that we've at least got the Senate. Well, I keep saying the Democrats at least have the Senate.
The country. The country.
The country.
At least has a Senate.
There we go. I like that. And then the House is at least a slim majority. So actually, it's still possible. It's still possible that Dems get the House. Unlikely, but
And I
possible.
appreciate where we are now because remember, for last week, when we did like the midterm election, we were not thinking that it was going to be a great turnout, that we were going to make any type of progress. We were thinking the red wave was going to take over. So I at least appreciate where we are right now.
Yep.
I really do.
All right. So that's it for that.
Truth, lies, shenanigans.
All right, and what everybody's been waiting for, it's movie time with Mike.
All right, everybody, let's talk about Black Panther Wakanda Forever, the 30th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It stars Letitia Wright, Lupita Nyong'o, Danai Gurira, Winston Duke, and a ton of other people. Directed by Ryan Coogler, and it is the sequel to the 2018 movie Black Panther. Look, I'll just come right out and say it. I really enjoyed this movie. I really did. I do think it has some issues. One of which is I think this movie is doing a little bit too much. There's a lot of plates spinning in the air, right? And for the most part, most of those plates stay up, but a couple of them fall. However, the good far outweighs the bad in this movie. I really, really enjoyed it.
That's interesting. I mean, that's like almost exact words that I said to my wife yesterday. That there were some minor issues, but the good significantly outweighed the bad.
Yeah.
Exact
So,
words.
would you care to elaborate?
I mean, yeah. So, well, do I want to talk about the bad first? I don't know, but I will.
You
Okay.
can tell me
So,
whatever you want.
all right. So look.
Or just your overall thoughts.
I mean, I thought it was. I really enjoyed the movie, so I watched it in 3D, and I got to admit, it was a little bit dusty in the theater, and
Yeah, for some reason, somebody was cutting onions in the theater.
Something was going on. I don't know what was happening, but I was happy I was wearing the 3D glasses because it allowed me to you didn't have to see all those wateriness in my eyes.
Oh, can we talk about that though? Because I was not prepared for that. Like, I honestly, the first portion of the movie is kind of like going to a funeral, especially depending on the audience. So I had people in my audience, like they were screaming out, crying. It was a dedication to Chadwick Boseman, who unfortunately died in 2020 of colon cancer. And essentially the character T'Challa died in the movie. I mean, people were feeling it
Yeah,
in the stand. Like
I
people
was.
were feeling it. I haven't cried that much in a movie in forever.
I kept trying not to cry. I'm like, I don't need to cry. It's just.
Listen, Neo.
I didn't know Chad would like that.
The guy sitting next to me, big brother, he asked me because I had a bunch of napkins. He asked me for a napkin because he was like, it was just.
It was pretty.
I wasn't expecting that, but I appreciated that because a lot of times in television and in movies, people die, major characters die, and it's like they get over it like that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't give a chance for the characters to mourn or the audience, and this definitely gave the audience a chance to mourn.
And I think that, like, one thing I saw, I thought that, for me, when I react like that, it's usually the reactions of the people, in the film. Like, it's not necessarily the thought that Chadwick Boseman was gone. I've known this for a while. But it was the raw emotions that I saw from the other characters that got me to crying. And if you think about it, I mean, they worked with this dude. So what I heard was those emotions were real for them. And so we're just seeing it filmed.
I think Letitia Wright did an excellent job portraying the 5 stages of. Yeah, she has to go through the 5 stages of grief, and we go through that with her, and she does a phenomenal job, and it's more of a testament to her acting because she's acting against one of the best actors in the world in Angela Bassett. And the two of them on screen together in this mother-daughter relationship, mourning the loss of a family member and a real-life friend. Look, I know it's very manipulative, but like so is all art. Like that's kind of the point of it. And it worked on me, man. It worked on me. Rob,
were you crying?
What do you?
Were you crying?
Look. I just said, look. I don't know who was making a sandwich and just putting onions in the sandwich.
It was heavy.
I told my wife she hasn't seen it yet. We're gonna see it together on Tuesday. I said, you're going to cry. And if the first part don't get you, the end.
You guys
will.
got to get over it. So I haven't seen the movie yet, but I can guarantee you, I'm a softie. When I see this movie, I'm sure the tears will be flowing.
Yeah,
I wasn't ready.
It's
I was
okay.
not ready
Okay.
for all that. I wasn't.
So,
Yeah.
so how did you feel when you heard that Chadwick Boseman had died? Mayor?
All right. I mean, that was shocking. I'd seen the first Black Panther movie, and really, he really blew me away in that. I'd seen a couple other movies with him in, and I mean, just that he was only in his 40s. He seemed so young, just such great talent, and very sad to lose him at such a young age.
Man, that cancer is the devil, man.
I think my Facebook post when it came out on the wire that he had died, like none of us, at least in the public, knew. Like he was able to, and thankfully for him, he was able to keep his illness as private as he needed it to be. Like a lot of even his co-stars didn't know until the very end that he had been suffering for years with this. But my Facebook post when it came out over the wire, no effing way. Like I was in complete shock and didn't understand what. And that's where you're sad because obviously this outside of his acting, this is a human, who succumbed to cancer. But then you think about him in the role, you're like, not Black Panther, like what?
I was
Yeah,
surprised
yeah.
how
gonna
emotionally
do?
caught up I was with Chadwick Boseman, really, because it's not like
Yeah.
I mean I've seen other actors die, and I say, oh, that's sad that they died. I feel bad, but for some reason Chadwick Boseman hit me. I don't know why. It was
You know
weird to
why?
me.
And I'll make this point, and then I'll go to Rob because we haven't heard from him yet. But Chadwick Boseman played our real life superheroes.
Yeah.
He played Jackie Robinson in 42.
True.
He played James
Fantastic,
Bond
too.
in Get On Up. He played he played the darkest Thurgood Marshall I've ever seen.
Fantastic
Yeah,
performance in all of
a
those.
miscast Thurgood Marshall, but still a good acting job on his part.
Yes, and I think that's part of it, right? Like he's in this world of Hollywood where like it's coming out that like men are just real scumbags, right? Like he
And they
wasn't
are.
one of them.
He wasn't one. of them.
He wasn't one of them.
That's true.
Rob, what are your thoughts on the film?
Well, aside to the tribute to Chadwick Boseman, I thought it was an entertaining movie. The action scenes were very MCU. For the nerdy part of me, I really loved seeing Namor, Namora, and Atma. And I found it kind of interesting that, he names himself Namor when he first introduces himself, Namor. And he gives it that Spanish flair. And then they go back to the Americanization of the Anglicization of his name and calling him Namor, which is what we've kind of come to know him since 1939 in the comic books. So I did find it interesting that they veered away from the comic book heritage of Atlantis and they brought some South American flair into it because, it's diversity, representation, and this follows Disney's new format. And with Disney's new format, it was very girl power oriented. All of the women were powerful.
It was very girl
They
power.
were very empowered.
Black girl magic.
Right.
Wow.
So I mean, it's nice to see that they're kind of setting the scale or resetting the scales, so to speak. Like I wish they would have done a little bit more with Namor because
I was going to say the same thing.
this is someone who can go strength-wise, can go toe-to-toe against the Hulk. And that was clearly not demonstrated because he should have had an easy time taking care of business.
So for those who don't know, like Namor, I mean, can you give a little background on Namor, Micah?
Namor is correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but Namor was the first mutant.
The first mutant. That's correct.
Not like in canon, but
For
like
X-Men.
Yeah, and he was. I always saw Namor as like sort of coded as Asian, and he,
Hawaiian or something like that.
Right, and he's always been Marvel's kind of answer to Aquaman, right?
But you know what?
But what did he say?
Namor came out 2 years before Aquaman. Namor
Oh,
is 2
really?
years older than Aquaman. Yep.
Well, there you go. So Namor's always been a bit of a dick, right? Like he's always
Always.
and this portrayal of Namor, he still kind of is,
Mhm.
but you like him.
No,
So
I didn't. No, I
yeah.
didn't.
I didn't like him. I'm with Lizzie. I didn't
When
like
I say like him, I think he's
He's an
captivating.
anti-hero.
Right, he's captivating. I'm not saying I'm rooting for Namor. I'm saying I want to see Tenoch Huerta on screen as Namor. That's what I mean when I say
I would like to see a
I might
Namor
want to
movie.
see him on screen, the actor on screen, as something else. But
Oh, that's true.
I didn't like him. And one of but to piggyback off of that, Micah, one of the common themes or questions that I saw in reviews of the movie, people arguing whether or not Namor was a villain
Mhm.
or not. Should he
But
be
you can be
seen
both.
as a villain?
You can be both.
No,
That's what they
but what do
refer
you?
to as an anti-hero.
Well,
Like you're a hero, but you're not. And he was
It all
definitely that.
depends on your perception, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah, because
one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, right? Like
I didn't
it's
see him
and
as an anti-hero. I personally
You,
didn't
you know
see
what
him
I
as an
liked? You know
anti-hero.
what I liked most? I liked that they were taking the two societies, right, and kind of comparing. Because they weren't really the evil ones in the picture. It
Mhm.
was America, France. It was the man who they were both fighting against, and they just had different ideals as to how to do it. And so it was just conflicting ideals, which caused them to go to war, which is what happens in real life, unfortunately, is that you have these two societies fighting against a larger threat, and then they don't agree on how to combat that, and then they end up fighting each other, which is, that's the whole sense of, destabilization. That's the whole concept behind destabilization of countries and things like that, is that you get them to fight each other, even though there's this larger threat. And so I like that they addressed that. And I didn't like that it
Or
was
even,
happening, but I like that they kind of addressed that.
or
So
even how we're
to your point, Liz, to your point, I want to talk about a couple of things that I didn't really like about the movie.
Okay.
And they all stem from a little too much going on at the same time. I think that there are 3 or 4 characters that could just be lifted from this movie and nothing, it would be fine.
Okay.
There are literally characters that you can take their entire role, their entire
I know
screen
one.
time,
I don't know her name,
and
but I know one.
and the movie would be fine. I think there's another character who is simply a MacGuffin. This is a big deal for this character to be here and to
What's
be
a
introduced.
MacGuffin? You using these terms I've
So,
never heard before.
so a MacGuffin in movies, a
Uh-huh.
MacGuffin is an object, a thing, or something that is not important,
Okay.
but it moves the plot along.
Okay.
Right? Like
Okay.
we got to get this thing. That thing is the MacGuffin. We have to find this person. That person is the MacGuffin, right?
Okay. Okay.
So, and I feel like that there's a character that is a MacGuffin, and I feel like that character is a little too important for her to just be a MacGuffin.
Are you talking
Ironheart's a
about the
MacGuffin.
scientist?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
That could be anybody. That could literally be anybody. I feel like they could have waited.
They could have.
She's getting her own show. I feel like she could have just waited to be introduced into her own show.
I don't know. I thought she was.
She was
valuable.
cool.
I
She
liked
was,
her.
She was cool. I liked her. She was cool.
agree.
I can't wait to
It's
see
not
her
necessary.
show.
We got no background on her.
Exactly.
That's what I didn't like.
We
Yeah.
don't
Exactly.
know who she is, where she came from, why she is there. But I also
Exactly.
think to that
And I
point,
think
kind of,
Namor's
I think-
plan. I think Namor's plan, if you think about it, doesn't really make sense. Like if you sit down and think about it,
absolutely,
it doesn't make sense.
absolutely.
and
That was the weakest part of the story. That was the weakest part of the story.
right.
Can I just say
Right.
the one thing that bothered me the most was, Namor did a lot, and I won't say all that he did, but he did a lot of bad. And the ending left me disappointed with the consequences. I was really disappointed with how the consequences of his action played out.
But
'Cause
that's how these comic movies end.
that bothered me.
Because there needs to be, because
The
there needs to be an
consequences should have been
extension
greater
of,
to me, I felt.
yeah. Well, but
Um,
also, not only that, but I just think it goes back, and hopefully I'm not giving away too much here, but it goes back to one of my disagreements with Michelle Obama and her platform and what she says. When they go low, we go high. And to me, I'm just like, no, that is expected of us too much.
I hate that.
When you go low, I'm going to hell. I'm going to blow this whole thing up. And that's what happened here. We went high once again. So I agree with you.
That bothered me the
yeah.
most. I just
Yeah,
felt like
yeah.
consequences should have been greater. Kevin Thack says, please don't say Riri Williams. That's who you were talking about, Micah. And then
I mean,
Yeah.
Okay, we won't say it.
and then he also said the show will give the background on her.
Yeah, and
So there's no
and
reason
and
to.
look,
Yeah.
you could have just
show?
introduced her in the show.
She has a new show coming up.
She has a new show coming out on Disney Plus, and she will be
in
the
the same
star.
character? With the
Yeah.
same character?
Yes,
The same character.
same actor.
See, I'm not watching
Yes.
all of that. Like, I'll
See?
put what I want in this movie that I paid $30 for. Ooh.
She-Hulk didn't need a segue
So we
in a
know how
movie.
Maxwell feels about it. We know how
Apparently, yeah.
All right, so we're really running out of time. We're going to jump right on in. That was a great discussion, Micah. Thank you for leading the discussion on Wakanda Forever. Everybody needs to go out and check out that movie. Fantastic movie.
Bring your tissue. Bring your tissue.
Bring tissue.
Bring your tissue.
The first one was definitely better, but this was a fantastic movie anyway. I mean, when you consider how amazing the first movie was, not a huge drop off, but amazing movie. So you got to check it out. All right, let's start out with our game. We only got like 4 minutes, so let's go.
I'm losing this game. I have no idea.
All right, today's game is Shenanigans Trivia. Let me make sure I pull it up. All right, Shenanigans Trivia Marvel Movie Edition. This quiz is provided by Disney, so I don't take any responsibility for the answers or being right or wrong.
Please, if y'all believe that, you're bigger fools than the folks in Wakanda for trusting folks.
All right, the way it'll work, we'll go around the horn, answer the question correctly, you get a point. Answer it wrong, you get nothing. All right, person with the most points at the end of, we're going to do 2 rounds, wins the final thought for the show. All right, we're going to start out. This should be an easy one, Lizzie. I'm going to give you an easy one, Lizzie, because you're not the Marvel person. So
Tag team. Okay, bottom row against the top row.
Oh, I mean, there you go.
No fair. No
I
fair.
think that's fair.
Black versus white. Black versus white.
Actually, you know what? Let's do this. All right, we'll do it this way. How about left side versus right side? We'll do it that way.
No, we can do it.
3 rounds, left side versus right side. We're gonna do it 3 rounds because it'll make it faster. It'll make it faster. Left side
That's
versus
case.
right
That's
side.
case. Micah, this is all you. Now we'll see.
We'll do left side versus right. We'll start with right side first. Lizzie and Rob B. All right.
Rob, feel free to jump in, Rob. Feel free to jump in.
Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, if I hope I'm saying it right, is made of metal from the heart of a dying what?
First of all,
Star,
I can't see that.
comet, planet, or asteroid?
Go on, Rob. Tell him, Rob. Tell him.
It's a star.
Star. That is correct. Correct. All right. So Lizzie, Rob V in the lead. All right. So this is for Micah, Mayor Patrick. What is the name of the villain in Marvel Studios' Ant-Man? Was it the Wasp,
Yellow Jacket.
Lord,
Hornet, Yellow Jacket, or Ghost?
I have no idea.
What he said.
Yellow Jacket.
Yellow Jacket. That is correct.
Patrick, thank goodness they didn't put the 2 of us on a team.
All right. This is Lizzie, Ravi. What is the name of the set of documents that regulate the activities of enhanced persons? Is it the Stark Accords, the Paris Accords, the Shield Accords, or the Sokovia Accords?
It's pronounced Sokovia Accords.
So that's what I said. Sokovia Accords. All right, so that is the correct answer. All right, good job. So Lizzie, Rob V in the lead now. All right. Here, Patrick, Micah, what are the names of the batteries that the Guardians have to protect at the beginning of Marvel Studios' Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2? Is it the Harbulary batteries, the Annulax batteries, the Vibranium batteries, or the Galaxy batteries?
Is it the Annulax batteries?
I don't know. What do you think, Mayor Patrick?
I think vibranium. I actually saw this one, believe it or not. No,
I don't. I look. I don't know. I only saw this one once. I'm saying,
I only saw it once too, but I'm like most of these movies, I actually saw it. So I don't know. I think it's vibranium.
Micah, what are you guys going with? Vibranium or Annulax?
Let's go. Let's go with Annulax. I think vibranium is an earth metal.
Okay, let's try it. Annulax is correct.
All right.
Good thing you didn't listen to me. That's
They said Harbulary. Did Kevin Baxter say Harbulary? All right. All right.
I'd say this moral of this is you should never listen to a politician. That's
That's funny. All right, this is the last round. We're going to see which of the following is not on Captain America's to-do list in Marvel Studios' Captain America the Winter Soldier. Is that Thai food, Nirvana, Star Wars, or frozen yogurt?
I'm not sure, but I'm thinking Nirvana. Liz?
Sure.
Nirvana. Nirvana is incorrect. It was frozen yogurt. Frozen yogurt.
Oh, wow. I'm so sorry, Rob. This is not my wheelhouse.
No,
It's not.
I'm sorry. I'd let you down. I'm sorry.
All right,
I
last
let
one.
you down.
Last one is 7:00. We got to get ready. We got to close it down. All right. In the post-credit scene of Marvel Studios' The Avengers, what type of restaurant are the Avengers shown eating at? Would that be pizza, shawarma, sushi, or fried chicken?
It's shawarma.
Nah, they want some fried chicken.
You better get
We're
out.
going with shawarma?
No black people
This is
there.
for the win.
Shawarma.
Shawarma. That is correct. And that means Micah, Mayor Patrick, you win the game. All right, so between you two, you can decide who is going to give the final thought for the show. I'll let you guys decide.
I don't think I've ever been so obsolete in one of our games in my life.
All right, let's get some shout outs in.
Nothing.
Let's close it down. All right, start out with Lizzie. Shout outs.
Shout out to voters. Again, I was pleasantly surprised by the turnout and how we didn't let the red wave intimidate us. Let this be a lesson. Your vote matters. It counts. Maybe you don't think it matters for president, general election. It matters in your communities. So keep getting out there. Keep voting, folks. Keep voting, folks.
All right, Robbie Rock.
Shout out to everyone who took the time to reach out to share some birthday love. And a shout out to my family who took time out of their week to celebrate with me on Friday. Love you lots.
All right, Robbie Rock, and happy birthday to you. Let's give you one more.
Twerk, 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 twerk.
All right, Mayor Patrick, shout outs.
I'm going to go with a shout out to Wes Moore for becoming the first black governor elected in Maryland. Only the third black governor elected in the entire country, which just astounds me.
That is
never,
astonishing.
none of them have been women. So we got to change that. And unfortunately, Stacey Abrams fell short. So got to change that next time around.
All right, great shout out. All right, Micah, final shout out.
Shout out to my lovely wife and my two rambunctious boys who keep me up at night. And shout out to you guys, man. I missed seeing you all when you're on your breaks, and I'm very happy that you're back.
All right, and happy to be back. And my shout out goes out to Mayor Patrick and Micah. Thank you so much for joining us. Finally get you back. All right, and that is officially all the time we have for today's show. I'd like to thank you all for joining us. I hope you learned something, get a new perspective, or simply had some laughs. We will be back next week, and we'll have a guest is a Ukrainian woman who went back home to visit her family just before the war broke out and got stuck there witnessing the many atrocities. She'll share her story with us. Be sure to check out our previous episodes and never miss a new one. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. All right, Mayor Patrick, Micah, who has the final thought for the show?
Feel free, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
Oh,
Final thought for the show. What you got? Close us out, Mayor Patrick.
I'm just going to call out to all those folks in Georgia. Make sure you vote in the runoff. It's just next month, or just a few weeks away, and you'll be deciding whether Raphael Warnock, who is a really just stellar man, whether he stays in that Senate role. So please make sure you go out and vote again.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, Robbie Rock, Lizzie, Micah, Mayor Patrick. But most importantly, we need to thank you for listening to our shenanigans for 4 amazing seasons. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
Have a good night, everyone.